Okay, makers, we are making something bright and beautiful today using a super simple technique. Now, my base has been made using igloo and concrete to get this beautiful off-white grey. So, I'm a big fan of a slab base being slightly off-white. We also have the colour recipes for all these beautiful colours today. The aqua, the shimmery, beautiful mustard, this gorgeous, vibrant pink. We have a warm toned lilac colour, and I'm going to give you the base colour recipe for that as well so that you can make it any strength you like, from pastel to a deeper violet. So that'll be exciting. You're also going to get this citrus colour, citrus, chartreusey greeny colour, and a peach base colour. I have already shared that, but I'm going to put it in this so that you've got it forever, you know. All right, so I'm going to do what I always do with my bases. I'm going to pick the nicest side to be the back, and then I'm going to trim the edges. And also know that this has been rolled out to 4.5 mil in thickness so that it can be rolled down to be ultra flat. Now, we are using a rip and tear technique, which is a contemporary term for just basically getting that shit on there. And all we're doing is ripping and tearing and putting it on the slab. So make sure your clay is nice and conditioned so that it's easy to rip off, because actually doing this a lot, you do get sore fingers. I'm not going to lie. These are the trials and tribulations we go through as makers. Make sure your clay is nice and soft so that this process is easy. Now, really, the only thing I need to tell you is to make sure you distribute your colors really evenly. If you're worried about that, sometimes you can just put your next color beside the last color. So for every piece of blue, put a piece of peach. I obviously haven't done that in this one, but I've kind of just distributed it evenly anyway. The reason for that is just making sure that you have a little bit of every color on every component that you cut out from the slab. So let's just quickly jump into the rules of a rip and tear slab and the process. There are none. There are no rules. Do whatever you like. You can do 2 colors, 1 color. You can do 10 colors, whatever you like. You can make the pieces that you rip and tear really small or really big, or you can do them in different sizes. It's really up to you. I think the only thing to think about, which is really for any slab in the contemporary style, is to make sure that you've got a little bit of your design on every little bit of the slab so that you can make the most of it, and everything you're going to cut out is going to have a little bit of all the color that you're adding on here. Look at this lush pink. Look at it. She's delicious. So in this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 colors that we're putting on the slab. So we're not going to see a lot of that base color through it. Still just enough for a taste. Just enough for a taste. This beautiful shimmery mustard is what I decided to add as my wild card color. So something a little bit different that doesn't really go in with the other colors that are there, but then when you put it together, it works. And because I decided to resin coat this particular collection, the shimmery mustard looks so gorgeous under the resin as well. So that was kind of a win. So there's a close-up. Now we're going to roll it down. All we're going to use is our stainless steel roller. I'll just give it a couple of little rolls before I get the guides out. And now I've got my pro length 3 mil guides, or my medium guides, and I'm going to roll down this puppy. Now, as you know, I like to pick it up, turn it, pick it up, turn it, so I get a nice even roll down. Do not put a slab like this through your clay machine unless you want it to look like you just ran over it with your car. Okay? The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of pizzazz. We're going to add a little bit of contrast with this beautiful black clay. I want it to be like I've just sprinkled a little bit of pepper over the top. So I'm not going to condition it. I'm just going to use it straight from the packet, and that way I will get kind of like a powdery look. And that's just going to add that tiny little bit of contrast that I'm looking for, a little point of difference. Now, if I wanted it to have bigger chunks, I would condition it until it was really soft and then do the wire brush. Then I would end up with bigger chunks. Now look at this. Look at this magic. We're going to cut it out now. So we've rolled it down to 3 mils, and we're going to use a bunch of different shape cutters, and I'm going to talk you through the different ones. So those ones there are from Epic Burns. This one is from Blackbird and Violet. I think it's one of their earlier cutters, and it's great for a contemporary Christmas tree. Then we have this cute little sort of droplet shape from Kit & Co. I feel like it's from Kit & Co. Yeah. And then we have this amazing cutter from Arc & Curve, which is from their most recent collection, Bits and Bobs 2, I think. And I'm kind of obsessed with it at the moment. Now, I was also going to say, as you can see, I'm about to burnish, which is just pressing the slab down onto the tile so I can use this cutter. This is from Outline, and if you're not careful, it can get stuck in the shape cutter. So give it a little twist, just like I am, and it's a little bit easier. These ones also from Kit & Co. Love this shape, so fun. And I've actually used it in quite a few designs. But what I was going to say, if you have a shape that's not symmetrical, you need to get the mirror. So you should have 2 different cutters. If your shape is symmetrical, like this one, you only need 1 cutter. However, the little flower shape from Arc & Curve, that one is actually not symmetrical, but you don't really need to have the mirror for it, because if you just turn it up the other way, you can't really tell. Oh, here's a little hint for you. Get another piece of clay. Push it down, and there you go. Your shape will come out of the cutter most times. Now, of course, to keep your clay from sticking in your shape cutter, you can burnish your clay slab to this tile, or you can use a bit of corn flour, or you can use a bit of water, but I often just use that technique because the cutters that I use aren't super detailed. And usually I find burnishing to the tile enough for me, but if you're using very intricate cutters or embossed cutters, definitely a bit of corn flour is going to help you by dipping your cutter in it and then cutting out your shape. Now, I also like to get as much out of my slab as possible. So you can see here, I'm trying my best to get heaps out. Now, if you're doing a skeleton pull and it all pulls up in one, you haven't cut out enough shapes. It should break apart and look terrible and be like the worst ever skeleton pull. Means that you've done a great job at cutting out all your shapes. Just saying. Use as much as you can. Don't waste it. Don't end up with excess scrap clay if you don't need to. Now, I've decided to do some complementary components using the colors from the slab. So I have leftover pink. I'm cutting out a few shapes. I'm going to use them to add to my collection, and you're going to see exactly how I do that. This is something that I've always done when I am creating a design with polymer clay. I will often have a main point of interest, so that'll be the slab that I made first with all the colors and the designs and all of that jazz, and then using particular colors from that design to add like complementary components. Exactly what I'm doing here. So obviously I want the pink to stand out a little bit, so I'm using some of the leftover pink to create the toppers or little studs or other components that work well with the design. And then I'm also going to use a little bit of the peach. I think I use the peach and the green. So I just find this is a really fun way to really put together a cohesive collection. You can choose to have just like one color, so maybe just use the pink as a complementary like color or component, but I decided to use most of the colors. I've used also after the fact, after I made this video, I've also used the blue and the lilac. So I think you'll laugh a little bit at just how different they look once they have their resin coating on as well, and with all the other bits and pieces that I did to them. So I also made another collection which I actually made with my Patreon live. And for that particular collection, I decided to resin coat, but I also decided to add my comic technique to it. So it made it completely different. But although it's using exactly the same colors and some of the same techniques by resin coating, adding a little bit of glitter, etc., etc., they look very different, but then they still kind of look like they work together. So they look cohesive even though they're different. I'm going to show you at the end of this video a quick little snippet of the 2 collections that I got out of these colors in the end, and just how cool they look, because I'm very, very excited about them. But I hope you've learned something in this video about using the rip and tear technique, and I also hope that you love the little adding the contrast with the splatter or the little sprinkling of the black using the wire brush. It's a really, really great technique to have under your belt for a really simple little pop of interest. So yeah, let's move on. As you can see, I'm cutting out some peach and it's looking really cute. But what I was going to say was I just hope that this gives you some inspiration, gives you a bit of confidence with using color, and helps you when it comes to laying out your designs. I always find when you are doing this at home or when you are creating a new collection, I do suggest that you, when you have cut out a component, that you lay it onto a separate tile so that you're able to really sort of see how it's going to come together. That's what I do. So when I cut out a component, it goes on a tile. When I'm filming a video like this, I have to put it onto a tile where you can see it, but normally it's beside me, and then I'm able to cut my components out on my desk. But this is what we ended up with in the first edit, and then I'm going to show you what they look like in the final edit, which is slightly different. They don't all look the same. Let's have a little look now. So as you can see here, they are really different to what they first began as. I've added in the lilac. I have added glitter in when I have domed them. So I've used epoxy resin to dome them and then added glitter into the resin to give it that extra like next level vibe. And then you can see on this other collection here that I've used the same colors and the same background, but I have used my comic technique and also domed them and also added glitter into the black components as well. So just a little bit of fun, just a little bit of difference. Told you they changed.